The demolition notice arrived on a Tuesday morning, slipped under Olivia Warren's apartment door like an eviction wrapped in legal jargon, and she read it 3 times before the words finally registered that her home of 6 years was scheduled to be torn down in 90 days. She stood in her tiny kitchen, still wearing her paint-splattered overalls from the mural she had been working on since dawn, holding the paper with hands that trembled slightly as the reality sank in that some billionaire named Logan Webb had purchased the entire building and planned to replace it with luxury condominiums that people like her could never afford. Olivia had moved into the Riverside apartments straight out of art school, back when her dreams were big and her bank account was laughably small. And over the years, this cramped, one-bedroom had become more than just a place to sleep. The walls held her evolution as an artist, from tentative sketches to bold murals that covered every available surface. Her neighbors were elderly Mrs. Chen, who always saved her leftovers, young Marcus, who was working 2 jobs to support his daughter, and about 40 other people who were about to lose their homes because someone with too much money decided their neighborhood was ripe for development. She grabbed her phone and called the number listed on the notice, her heart pounding with a mixture of anger and desperation. A crisp female voice answered after 2 rings. "Webb Development Corporation, how may I direct your call?" "I need to speak with Logan Webb," Olivia said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Mr. Webb doesn't take unsolicited calls. If you have concerns about one of our properties, I can direct you to our property management team. This is about the Riverside apartments. He just bought our building and is planning to tear it down. People live here. Real people with lives and nowhere else to go." The receptionist's voice softened slightly. "I understand your frustration, but Mr. Webb has acquired the property legally. All tenants will receive the required notice period and relocation assistance as mandated by law." "Relocation assistance," Olivia repeated bitterly. "You know what rent costs in this city now. That assistance won't cover first and last month's rent anywhere decent." "I'm sorry, but there's nothing I can do. If you'd like, I can transfer you to—" Olivia hung up before she could finish. She looked around her apartment, at the mural of a sunset she had painted on her living room wall during a particularly difficult winter, at the window seat where she sketched every morning with her coffee, at the life she had built in this space. 90 days to pack up 6 years of memories, because someone who probably owned a dozen properties decided this particular piece of real estate would make him even richer. She spent the rest of the day painting with an intensity that bordered on fury, her brush strokes aggressive and bold as she worked on a commissioned piece for a local coffee shop. Art was the only thing that had ever made sense to her, the only language she spoke fluently, and right now she was screaming onto the canvas in shades of red and black. By evening, she had made a decision. If Logan Webb wouldn't take her call, she would find another way to reach him. She showered, changed into her nicest dress, which was still thrifted but at least clean and professional looking, and started researching. It took an hour of internet searching, but she finally found what she was looking for. Logan Webb was scheduled to appear at a charity gala downtown tomorrow night, one of those expensive fundraisers where the wealthy gathered to feel good about themselves while sipping champagne that cost more than her monthly grocery budget. Getting into the gala proved easier than she expected. Olivia had done some volunteer work for the organization hosting the event, painting a mural in their community center last year. And when she called and explained that she had forgotten to RSVP but would love to attend, they added her to the list without question. She suspected they assumed she was donating money she did not have, but she would deal with that misunderstanding later. The gala was held in a hotel ballroom that dripped with elegance. All crystal chandeliers and marble floors and people dressed in clothes that probably cost more than her car. Olivia felt distinctly out of place in her thrift store dress and borrowed heels, but she held her head high as she entered, scanning the crowd for a man she had only seen in newspaper photos and business articles. Logan Webb was not hard to spot. He stood near the bar, tall and broad-shouldered in a perfectly tailored suit, dark hair styled with casual precision, and a face that would have been handsome if not for the coldness in his expression. He was listening to an older man speak, nodding occasionally, but his eyes were distant, calculating. Everything about him screamed money and power, from his expensive watch to the way people naturally gave him space, as if his wealth created its own force field. Olivia grabbed a glass of water from a passing server and made her way toward him, her heart hammering. She had no plan beyond confronting him, no script prepared, just a burning need to make him see her as something more than a number on a demolition order. She waited until the older man walked away, then stepped directly into Logan's line of sight. "Mr. Webb, I'm Olivia Warren. I live in the Riverside Apartments, the building you just bought." Logan's eyes focused on her, cool and assessing. Up close, he was even more imposing, easily 6'3" with a presence that commanded attention. His gaze traveled over her dress, her face, lingering on her paint-stained hands that she had forgotten to scrub completely clean. "This isn't the appropriate venue for this conversation," he said, his voice deep and smooth, the kind of voice that was used to being obeyed. "Then give me an appropriate venue," Olivia shot back. "Your office won't let me through. You won't take calls. You just sent a notice that is displacing dozens of families and you won't even have a conversation about it. There's nothing to discuss. The sale is final. You'll have 90 days and assistance finding new housing. Do you even know what you are destroying?" Olivia felt her anger rising. "Mrs. Chen on the 3rd floor has lived there for 20 years. Marcus on the 2nd floor is raising his daughter alone and works 2 jobs to afford that apartment. These are real people with real lives, not just obstacles to your profit margin." Something flickered in Logan's expression, too quick to read. "I'm aware that people live there. That's why you are receiving proper notice and compensation. Compensation that won't even cover moving costs in this market. You are displacing people who can barely afford rent as it is, so you can build apartments that will rent for 5 times what we pay now. Does that sit well with you, knowing you are contributing to pushing working-class people out of their own neighborhood?" Logan's jaw tightened. "I'm a businessman, not a charity. I purchased that property as an investment. The building is old, inefficient, and sitting on valuable land. What I'm building will be better for the neighborhood overall." "Better for who?" "Not for the people who actually live there now. The people who live there now will find other housing. That's how cities work. Neighborhoods change. It's not personal. It feels pretty personal when it's your home being demolished." Olivia stepped closer, refusing to be intimidated by his height or his cold stare. "Come see the building before you tear it down. Meet the people who live there. If you are going to destroy our homes, at least have the courage to look us in the eye first." Logan was silent for a long moment, studying her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. Finally, he said, "Fine. I'll visit the building tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock, but this won't change anything. The decision is made." "We'll see about that," Olivia said and walked away before he could respond, her legs shaking but her head high. She left the gala immediately, not belonging in that world of wealth and privilege, and drove back to her neighborhood with her mind racing. She had 24 hours to organize something, to make Logan Webb see what he was destroying. If showing him the building and introducing him to her neighbors did not change his mind, At least she would know she had tried everything. The next morning, Olivia knocked on every door in the building, explaining what she had done and asking people if they would be willing to meet Logan when he arrived. Some were skeptical, convinced that no billionaire would care about their struggles, but others agreed immediately, desperate for any chance to save their homes. By noon, she had commitments from Mrs. Chen, Marcus and his 7-year-old daughter Sophie, the elderly Mr. Rodriguez who had nowhere else to go, and several others. At exactly 2 o'clock, a sleek black car pulled up in front of the Riverside Apartments, looking absurdly out of place on their modest street. Logan emerged wearing dark jeans and a button-down shirt, slightly less formal than the suit from last night but still clearly expensive. His expression was guarded as he approached the building entrance where Olivia waited. "Thank you for coming," she said, meaning it despite her anger. Logan simply nodded, his eyes scanning the building's exterior with a developer's critical gaze. Olivia could practically see him calculating repair costs and structural deficiencies, reducing her home to numbers and potential profit. She led him inside, past the slightly worn lobby where Mr. Rodriguez was checking his mailbox. The old man looked up, recognized Logan from the description Olivia had provided, and straightened his shoulders with dignity. "Mr. Webb," he said formally, "I'm Eduardo Rodriguez. I've lived here since my wife passed 12 years ago. This building gave me a home when I had nowhere else to turn." Logan paused, clearly not expecting to be confronted immediately. "I'm sorry for your loss," he said, and Olivia was surprised to hear genuine sympathy in his voice. "Thank you. I hope you'll consider what this building means to those of us who call it home." Mr. Rodriguez returned to his mail, having said his piece. They continued upstairs, where Mrs. Chen was waiting in her doorway with the smell of fresh dumplings wafting from her apartment. The elderly woman smiled warmly despite the circumstances. "You must be the one buying our building," she said in her accented English. "I made extra dumplings. You eat with me, yes. Then we talk." Logan looked genuinely thrown off balance. "I appreciate the offer, but no, but you come in, you eat, you listen. This is how we do things here." Mrs. Chen gestured imperiously, and to Olivia's amazement, Logan followed the old woman into her apartment. Olivia trailed behind them, watching as Mrs. Chen sat Logan at her small kitchen table and placed a plate of steaming dumplings in front of him. The apartment was tiny but immaculate, filled with photographs of children and grandchildren, a lifetime of memories crammed into cramped rooms. "My son wants me to live with him in California," Mrs. Chen said as Logan cautiously tried a dumpling. "But this is my home. My husband and I moved here when we first came to America. He died in the bedroom." She pointed down the short hallway. "I talk to him every night. If I leave him behind." Logan swallowed his food and Olivia saw him struggle for words. "Mrs. Chen, I understand this is difficult, but surely your son's house would be more comfortable." "Comfortable is not the same as home," Mrs. Chen said simply. "You understand this, yes? You must have a home somewhere that means something to you." Logan's expression shuddered. "I have several properties. None of them are particularly sentimental." "Then I feel sorry for you," Mrs. Chen said with the bluntness of age. "A man with houses but no home is a lonely man." They left a few minutes later, Logan quiet and thoughtful. On the second floor, Marcus was just getting home from his morning shift at the warehouse, his daughter Sophie trailing behind him with a backpack covered in princess stickers. "Mr. Webb," Marcus extended his hand, which Logan shook. "Marcus Williams, this is my daughter Sophie." "Hi," Sophie said shyly, peering up at Logan with wide brown eyes. "Hello," Logan said, his voice softening slightly when he addressed the child. "Sophie, go start your homework," Marcus said gently. Once his daughter was inside their apartment, he turned to Logan with tired eyes. "Look, I'm not going to give you some sob story. I know you are a businessman and this is just business to you. But I need you to understand what this means for people like me. I work 2 jobs to afford this place. It's small, but it's clean and safe and in a decent school district. The relocation assistance you are offering might cover a deposit somewhere, but anywhere I can afford with my income is going to be in a worse neighborhood with worse schools. My daughter deserves better than that." "There are assistance programs," Logan said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Programs with waiting lists years long. Programs that don't actually provide enough support to make a real difference." Marcus rubbed his face wearily. "I'm not asking you to give us the building. I'm just asking you to consider what you are doing to real families." Logan was silent, and Olivia watched his face carefully, trying to read his thoughts. She saw something there, some flicker of conflict, but it was quickly suppressed. They continued through the building, meeting more residents, hearing more stories. By the time they reached Olivia's apartment on the 4th floor, Logan looked distinctly uncomfortable, his earlier confidence shaken by the human reality of his business decision. "This is mine," Olivia said, opening her door. "I've lived here for 6 years. I know it's not much, but it's where I became who I am." Logan stepped inside, and she watched his eyes widen slightly as he took in the murals covering her walls. Every surface was a canvas, explosions of color and emotion that told the story of her journey as an artist. Her living room was a sunset in oranges and purples, her kitchen a garden of impossible flowers, her bedroom door a portrait of a woman looking toward an unseen horizon. "You painted all this?" Logan asked, moving closer to examine the work. "Every inch. It's against the lease technically, but the previous landlord never cared. This is my portfolio, my therapy, my life." Olivia touched the sunset mural gently. "I painted this during my first winter here. I was broke, lonely, questioning every decision I had made. This sunset reminded me that hard times pass, that there's always beauty if you look for it." Logan was quiet, studying the mural with an intensity that surprised her. "You're talented," he said finally. "Thank you. I make enough to pay my bills mostly. I do commissions, some freelance work for businesses, teaching art classes to kids. It's not a lucrative career, but it's mine." She turned to face him. "People like me, like Marcus, like Mrs. Chen, we're the ones who get pushed out when neighborhoods gentrify. We're the ones who can't afford the new luxury apartments that replace our homes. And we're invisible to people like you because we don't attend galas or move in the right circles. But we matter. Our lives matter. Our homes matter." Logan met her gaze, and for the first time she saw past the cold businessman exterior to something more complicated underneath. "I grew up poor," he said quietly. "Not just working class, actually poor. My mother worked 3 jobs and we still barely had enough to eat some months. I built my company from nothing, worked harder than anyone around me, made the hard decisions that needed to be made. I'm not going to apologize for being successful." "I'm not asking you to apologize for success," Olivia said. "I'm asking you to remember what it was like to struggle. To have empathy for people in the position you used to be in." "Empathy doesn't build empires," Logan said, but there was no heat in his words. "No, but it makes you human." Olivia stepped closer to him. "You have more money than you could spend in 10 lifetimes. This one building won't make or break you, but tearing it down will break the people who live here. Is that really who you want to be? Someone who destroys homes for a fractional increase in your net worth?" Logan held her gaze for a long moment, and Olivia felt something shift in the air between them, some connection forming that she did not fully understand. Then he looked away, his jaw set. "I'll consider what you've said," he said finally, "but I'm not making any promises." It was not the answer Olivia wanted, but it was more than she had expected. "Thank you for coming," she said, "for listening." Logan nodded and left, and Olivia collapsed onto her couch, emotionally exhausted. She had done what she could. Now all she could do was wait. 3 days passed with no word. Olivia tried to focus on her work, on a large commission for a restaurant that was due in 2 weeks, but her mind kept drifting to Logan Webb. She remembered the way he had looked at her murals, the momentary vulnerability when he mentioned growing up poor, the conflict in his eyes when Marcus talked about his daughter. She wanted to believe she had reached him, that he was not as cold as he pretended to be, but she had no reason to hope beyond wishful thinking. On the 4th day, her phone rang from an unknown number. "Hello, Olivia Warren. This is Logan Webb." Her heart jumped. "Mr. Webb, have you made a decision? I'd like to discuss it in person. Can you meet me for dinner tonight?" Olivia hesitated, surprised by the request. "Dinner? I want to talk through some ideas I've been considering. 7 o'clock. I'll text you the address." "Okay," Olivia agreed, her mind racing. "I'll be there." The restaurant he chose was nice but not ostentatious, a small Italian place in a neighborhood that was transitioning from working class to trendy. Olivia arrived exactly on time, wearing the same dress from the gala because it was the nicest thing she owned, and found Logan already seated at a corner table. He stood when he saw her, which surprised her, and pulled out her chair. His manners were impeccable, but there was a tension in his shoulders that suggested he was as uncertain about this meeting as she was. "Thank you for coming," Logan said once they were both seated. "I've been thinking about what you showed me, about the building and the people who live there." "And?" Olivia held her breath. "And I can't tear it down," Logan said, his voice rough as if the admission cost him something. "I've spent the past 3 days trying to justify it to myself, running the numbers, looking at alternative sites for the development I planned. But I keep seeing misses. Chen's face, Marcus's daughter, your murals. I built my company on hard decisions, but I don't want to be the person who destroys homes." Olivia felt tears prick her eyes. "You're serious. You're not going to demolish the building." "I'm serious. But I do own it now, and it needs significant work. The electrical system is outdated. The plumbing needs upgrading. The roof should be replaced. I'm going to renovate instead of demolish. Keep all current tenants at their existing rent. Do the necessary repairs and improvements. It won't be as profitable as luxury condos, but it's the right thing to do." "Logan," Olivia breathed his name, too overwhelmed to maintain formality. "I don't know what to say. Thank you doesn't seem like enough." "You made me remember something I'd forgotten," Logan said, looking directly at her. "That business isn't just about profit margins. That the decisions I make affect real people with real lives. I've spent so long focused on building my company that I lost sight of why I started in the first place. I wanted to prove that someone from my background could succeed. But success shouldn't mean forgetting where you came from." The waiter arrived to take their orders, giving Olivia a moment to compose herself. When he left, she said, "Can I ask you something personal?" Logan raised an eyebrow. "You can ask. What made you so driven?" "I mean, growing up poor is one thing, but you're a billionaire. Most people would have stopped long before reaching that level. What are you trying to prove?" Logan was quiet for a long moment, turning his wine glass in his hands. "My father left when I was 5. Just disappeared one day, couldn't handle the responsibility of a family. My mother killed herself trying to provide for me and my sister. She died of a heart attack when I was 22, exhausted herself into an early grave. I promised myself I would never struggle like that, never be powerless because of money. So I worked. I built companies, made investments, accumulated wealth. And somewhere along the way, the goal shifted from security to just more. More money, more properties, more success. I forgot that the point was supposed to be a better life, not just a richer one. "What about your sister?" Olivia asked softly. "She died 3 years ago, cancer. Had the best doctors money could buy, but it wasn't enough." Logan's voice was flat, but Olivia heard the grief underneath. "After she passed, I threw myself even harder into work. It was easier than feeling the loss." Olivia reached across the table and placed her hand over his. "I'm so sorry. Losing your whole family like that, I can't imagine." Logan looked down at their joined hands, and Olivia saw his throat work as he swallowed. "I don't talk about this," he said. "About them. It's easier to just be the cold businessman everyone expects." "Maybe easier, but lonely," Olivia said, echoing Mrs. Chen's words. "Yes," Logan agreed quietly. "Very lonely." They talked through dinner, the conversation flowing more easily than Olivia would have expected. Logan asked about her art, seemed genuinely interested in her process and inspirations. She asked about his business, and he explained his work in real estate development with a passion that showed his success was built on genuine skill and intelligence, not just ruthless ambition. "I started with house flipping," Logan said over dessert. "Bought the worst houses in decent neighborhoods, fixed them up myself. I learned construction working summers during college, and I was good at it. Could see the potential in properties other people overlooked. From there, I moved into larger projects, apartment buildings, commercial developments. Built a reputation for quality work completed on time and under budget." "Do you still do any of the hands-on work?" Olivia asked. "Not often. I miss it sometimes. There was something satisfying about transforming a space with my own hands, seeing the immediate results of my labor. Now I mostly deal with paperwork and meetings." He smiled slightly. "Though I'm planning to be very hands-on with the Riverside renovations, want to make sure they're done right." After dinner, Logan insisted on driving Olivia home. His car was as expensive as she had expected, all leather seats and quiet luxury, but he drove like a normal person, not the aggressive entitlement she associated with the very wealthy. "This was nice," Olivia said as they pulled up in front of her building. "Thank you for dinner. And for everything else." "Can I see you again?" Logan asked abruptly. "Not about the building, just to see you." Olivia's heart skipped. She had been trying not to acknowledge the attraction building between them, the way her pulse jumped when he looked at her, the warmth that spread through her chest when he smiled. He was a billionaire, completely out of her league, and she had no business developing feelings for him. But the hope in his eyes was undeniable. "I'd like that," she said. Logan's smile transformed his face, making him look younger and more approachable. "Tomorrow night, I could pick you up at 7. "It's a date," Olivia agreed and climbed out of the car before she could lose her nerve. She watched him drive away, her mind spinning. Logan Webb wanted to date her. The billionaire who had nearly destroyed her home was now asking her out. It should have been absurd, but somehow it felt right, as if everything that had happened was leading to this moment. Their second date was to a small art gallery showcasing local artists. Logan admitted he knew almost nothing about art beyond what he found aesthetically pleasing, but he was genuinely interested in learning. Olivia guided him through the exhibit, explaining techniques and artistic movements, and watching his face as he studied each piece carefully. "You should have your work in a gallery like this," Logan said as they stood in front of a particularly vibrant abstract painting. Olivia laughed. "I'm not at that level. These are established artists with real credentials. Your murals are better than half of what's hanging here," Logan said seriously. "You have real talent, Olivia. You should be making more than just enough to get by. Art doesn't work like that. You can't just decide to be successful. No, but you can create opportunities. Put yourself out there, network, promote your work. Logan turned to face her. What if I commissioned you for a large-scale project, something for one of my commercial properties? It would be legitimate exposure, and I'd pay you what the work is actually worth. Olivia felt a twist of discomfort. I don't want to be your charity case. If we're going to have a relationship, whatever this is, it can't be based on you trying to rescue me financially. That's not what this is, Logan said firmly. I legitimately need art for my properties. I usually hire through an agency, but I'd rather work with you directly. This would be a business transaction that benefits us both. Let me think about it, Olivia said, still uncertain. They left the gallery and walked through the city, talking about everything and nothing. Logan told her about the stress of managing a large company, the constant pressure to maintain his reputation and success. Olivia shared stories about her art school years, the struggle to be taken seriously in a field that often dismissed female artists. I always thought wealthy people had easy lives, Olivia admitted. But listening to you, it sounds exhausting. Money solves some problems and creates others, Logan said. I never worry about paying rent, but I'm constantly aware that people want something from me. Access, opportunities, money. It's hard to know who actually likes me versus who likes what I can do for them. I didn't even like you when we met, Olivia pointed out with a smile. I thought you were a heartless developer destroying people's homes. Fair assessment based on the evidence, Logan said wryly. What changed your mind? You did. You actually listened, actually cared enough to change course. That took real character. Olivia bumped his shoulder with hers. Also, you're not bad looking, which helps. Logan laughed, a genuine sound of delight that made Olivia's chest warm. I'll take that as a compliment. They started seeing each other regularly after that. Logan would show up at her building after work, sometimes in his suit from the office, sometimes in jeans and a t-shirt that showed off his broad shoulders. They would walk through the neighborhood, grab dinner at hole-in-the-wall restaurants, or sit in her apartment while she painted and he worked on his laptop. The renovations on the Riverside apartments began 2 weeks after their first date. True to his word, Logan was actively involved, showing up in work boots and old jeans to supervise the construction crew. Olivia watched from her window as he consulted with electricians, examined plumbing fixtures, and personally inspected every aspect of the work. The cold businessman persona was gone, replaced by someone who clearly cared about doing quality work. Mrs. Chen adopted Logan almost immediately, insisting he join her for lunch whenever he was in the building. Marcus's daughter Sophie developed a crush on him, giggling whenever he said hello. Mr. Rodriguez engaged him in long conversations about construction techniques, sharing wisdom from his years working in the trades. Logan handled it all with surprising grace, genuinely connecting with the people whose lives he had almost disrupted. You're good with them, Olivia observed one evening as they sat on her couch, Logan's arm around her shoulders. The residents. I thought you'd be uncomfortable, but you seem to actually enjoy talking to them. I do, Logan said, sounding slightly surprised himself. I've spent so long in boardrooms and business meetings. This feels more real. Mrs. Chen reminds me of my mother, actually. Same no-nonsense attitude. Your mother would be proud of what you've done with this building. Maybe, Logan said quietly. I hope so. A month into their relationship, Logan invited Olivia to his penthouse apartment. She had been curious about where he lived, imaging something cold and modern and impersonal. The reality was not far off. His apartment was beautiful, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a stunning view of the city, but it was almost completely devoid of personality. The furniture was expensive but generic, the walls bare except for a few pieces of corporate art that looked like they had come with the place. "This is where you live?" Olivia asked, unable to hide her shock. "What's wrong with it?" Logan looked around as if seeing it for the first time. "It looks like a hotel room. There's nothing personal here, nothing that tells me anything about who you are." Logan frowned. "I have everything I need, but nothing you love," Olivia said gently. "Logan, this isn't a home, it's just a place you sleep." He was quiet for a moment, then admitted, "I don't know how to make it a home. I've moved so many times, lived in so many temporary places. It never seemed worth the effort to settle in." "Can I help?" Olivia asked impulsively. "Not redecorate, but maybe add some life to the place. Make it feel less like a showroom." Logan smiled. "I'd like that." Over the next few weeks, Olivia slowly transformed Logan's apartment. She brought plants to add life and color, found interesting pieces at thrift stores and art markets, convinced Logan to display photos of his mother and sister instead of hiding them away. She painted a small mural in his hallway, a simple geometric design that added warmth without overwhelming the space. "It feels different," Logan said one evening, looking around. "Better. Like someone actually lives here." "Someone does live here," Olivia said, wrapping her arms around his waist from behind. "Someone important to me." Logan turned in her embrace and kissed her, slow and deep and full of feeling. "I love you," he said when they broke apart, his voice rough with emotion. "I wasn't planning to say it yet, but it's true. I love you, Olivia." "I love you too," Olivia said, her heart so full it felt like it might burst. "Even though you almost demolished my home." "I'll spend the rest of my life making that up to you," Logan promised, and kissed her again. Their relationship deepened after that confession. Logan started spending more nights at Olivia's cramped apartment than his own spacious penthouse, claiming he slept better surrounded by her murals and presents. Olivia had a key to his place, and would sometimes go there to paint when she needed the natural light from his huge windows. They began building a life together that bridged their two very different worlds. Logan commissioned her for a major project at one of his newest commercial properties, a large office building that needed artwork for the lobby. Olivia created a massive mural depicting the city skyline at different times of day, pouring her heart into the work. When it was unveiled, the response was overwhelmingly positive. Business journals wrote about the innovative use of local artists in commercial spaces. Other property owners started contacting Olivia for commissions. Her career, which had been perpetually struggling, suddenly took off. "I told you," Logan said smugly when she showed him her full commission schedule for the next 6 months. "This is because of you," Olivia protested. "Your project gave me credibility." "This is because you're talented and I gave you a platform. There's a difference. I didn't make you a good artist. I just helped people see what I already knew." The Riverside Apartments renovations were completed 4 months after they began. The building had been transformed while maintaining its character. The electrical and plumbing were updated to modern standards. The roof was replaced. Each apartment got new windows and fresh paint. But Logan had preserved the things that made it feel like home: the vintage tile in the lobby, the old radiators that clanked but worked perfectly, the worn wooden handrails that generations had touched. The building held a celebration to mark the completion, a barbecue in the small courtyard out back. Residents mingled with construction workers, sharing food and stories. Mrs. Chen commandeered the grill, despite protests that she should be a guest. Marcus's daughter Sophie ran around with the other building kids, her laughter ringing out. Mr. Rodriguez gave a short speech thanking Logan for preserving their home. "You did good." Olivia told Logan as they stood together watching the celebration. You could have demolished this place and made more money, but you chose to do the right thing. That matters. You changed my perspective, Logan said, pulling her close. Before I met you, I would have torn this building down without a second thought. You made me see the human cost of my decisions. You made me want to be better. You were always capable of being better. I just gave you a reason to try. Logan kissed her temple. Best reason I've ever had. 6 months into their relationship, Logan asked Olivia to move in with him. She was hesitant, loving her apartment despite its size, not wanting to give up the independence she had fought hard to maintain. But Logan was persuasive. Keep your apartment if you want, he said. Use it as a studio space, but live with me. Wake up next to me every morning. Let me come home to you every night. I want to build a life with you, Olivia. A real life, not just dates and sleepovers. What if it doesn't work out? Olivia asked, voicing her deepest fear. What if we're too different from two different worlds? Then we'll figure it out together. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're exactly what each other needs. Logan took her hands. I was half alive before I met you, going through the motions, accumulating wealth without purpose. You gave me purpose. You made me remember what matters. I can't imagine going back to who I was before. You make me braver, Olivia admitted. Before you, I was playing it safe, making just enough money to survive, not pushing myself to grow. You challenged me to take my art seriously, to see it as a real career. You believe in me in a way I haven't always believed in myself. So is that a yes? Olivia smiled. It's a yes. Moving in together was an adjustment. Logan's neat, organized nature clashed with Olivia's creative chaos. She left paint supplies scattered around, worked at odd hours when inspiration struck, played music loud while she painted. Logan was structured, routine-oriented, needed his space to be orderly to think clearly. They bickered about small things whose turn it was to do dishes, whether the thermostat setting was reasonable, how late was too late to start a painting session that would make noise. But they also learned to compromise. Logan cleared out an entire room to be Olivia's dedicated studio space, where she could be as messy as she wanted. Olivia made an effort to keep the common areas relatively tidy and wore headphones when painting late at night. They developed routines that worked for both of them: morning coffee together before Logan left for work, evenings where they would cook dinner side by side, weekends exploring the city, or staying home in comfortable silence while they each worked on their projects. My business partners think I've lost my mind, Logan mentioned one evening about 8 months into living together. Getting soft, they say. Too concerned with social responsibility and not enough with profit maximization. Are they right? Olivia asked, looking up from the sketch she was working on. Maybe. I've turned down 3 projects in the last 2 months because they would have displaced residents or harmed neighborhoods. Old me would have jumped on those deals without hesitation. But I keep thinking about the Riverside apartments, about Mrs. Chen and Marcus and all the others. I can't unknow what I know now. Is that hurting your business? Actually, no. The good publicity from the Riverside project has brought in new clients who specifically want development that's community-focused. Turns out there's a market for ethical development. Who knew? Logan smiled wryly. I'm still making plenty of money, just doing it in a way I can feel good about. I'm proud of you, Olivia said seriously. It takes real courage to change course when you're already successful. I had good motivation. Logan crossed to where she sat and kissed her. Best motivation in the world. A year after they met, Logan took Olivia back to the hotel where the gala had been held, where she had first confronted him about the building. They dressed up, Logan in a tuxedo and Olivia in a new dress that Logan had insisted on buying her despite her protests. She had finally accepted that he wanted to spoil her sometimes, that accepting gifts was not the same as being a charity case. "Why are we here?" Olivia asked as they entered the same ballroom where they had first spoken. "Because this is where my life changed," Logan said. "Where you marched up to me in your thrift store dress with paint on your hands and told me exactly what you thought of me. I've never forgotten that moment. You were fierce and passionate and completely unintimidated by my money or status. I think I started falling in love with you right then, even though I was too stubborn to admit it." Olivia felt tears prick her eyes. "Logan." He got down on one knee, pulling a small box from his pocket, and Olivia's breath caught. "Olivia Warren, you changed my life in every possible way. You made me better, kinder, more human. You showed me what really matters. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, supporting your dreams, building a life together, maybe filling that penthouse with the family neither of us had growing up. Will you marry me?" "Yes," Olivia said through tears. "Yes, of course, yes." The ring was beautiful, a simple, elegant design that was so perfectly her taste that Olivia knew Logan had paid attention to every offhand comment she had ever made about jewelry. He slid it onto her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that felt like a promise. They were married 6 months later in a small ceremony that reflected both of their personalities. The wedding was held in the courtyard of the Riverside Apartments, the building where their story began. Mrs. Chen catered, refusing to let anyone else handle the food. Marcus's daughter Sophie was the flower girl. Mr. Rodriguez walked Olivia down the aisle, stepping in as a father figure since her own parents had passed years before. Logan's business associates mingled with Olivia's artist friends, with residents from the building, with the construction crew who had renovated the apartments. It was chaotic and imperfect and absolutely perfect. "I love you," Logan said as they danced their first dance as husband and wife in the courtyard, string lights glowing above them. "I love you too," Olivia said. "Thank you for not tearing down my building," Logan laughed. "Best decision I ever made." After the wedding, they honeymooned in Italy, where Olivia sketched constantly, and Logan surprised her by revealing he had arranged for her to study with a renowned muralist for a week. They explored Florence and Rome, ate incredible food, and talked about their future. "I want kids," Logan said one evening as they watched the sunset over the Tuscan countryside. "I never thought I did. Always told myself I was too busy, too focused on work. But with you, I want everything. A family, a real home, all of it." "How many kids?" Olivia asked, her heart full. "As many as you want. 2, 3, 4. We have plenty of room." "Let's start with one and see how we handle it," Olivia said with a laugh. They returned home to begin their married life in earnest. Olivia continued her mural work, her reputation growing with each project. Logan restructured his company to focus exclusively on sustainable, community-focused development. He started a nonprofit foundation that provided housing assistance and job training, naming it after his mother and sister. They were building something together, a life that mattered beyond just themselves. A year into their marriage, Olivia discovered she was pregnant. Logan cried when she told him, overcome with an emotion he could not put into words. They transformed one of the spare rooms in the penthouse into a nursery. Though Olivia insisted on doing the mural herself, a whimsical garden scene with animals hiding among flowers, soft and dreamlike. "You're nesting," Logan teased as he watched her paint at 7 months pregnant, balanced carefully on a stepladder despite his protests. "I want everything to be perfect," Olivia said, adding delicate details to a butterfly's wing. "Our daughter deserves perfect." They had found out they were having a girl, and Logan had started calling the baby our little artist before she was even born. He read to Olivia's belly every night, telling their daughter stories about her grandmother and aunt she would never meet but would know through his memories. Their daughter, Lily Alina Webb, was born on a warm spring morning, arriving 3 weeks early and entirely on her own schedule. Logan held her with shaking hands, tears streaming down his face as he looked at the tiny person they had created together. "She's perfect," he whispered. "Absolutely perfect. Just like her dad," Olivia said, exhausted but happy. Being parents was harder than either of them expected. Lily was colicky, crying for hours in the evening. Olivia was overwhelmed and hormonal. Logan was terrified he would do something wrong, that he would fail as a father the way his own father had failed him. But they learned together, supporting each other through the difficult moments, celebrating the small victories. The first time Lily smiled, her first laugh, the way she would calm instantly when Logan sang to her in his off-key baritone. Mrs. Chen came over frequently to help, declaring herself an honorary grandmother. Marcus brought Sophie by to play with the baby, teaching Logan the patience required to care for an infant. The whole Riverside Apartments community embraced their small family, proving that home was not just a place, but the people who cared about you. When Lily was 6 months old, Olivia returned to painting, though on a reduced schedule. She had turned one of the penthouse rooms into a proper studio, and Logan would often work from home so he could watch Lily while Olivia created. He discovered he liked the rhythm of it, his daughter napping in her bouncer while he reviewed contracts, the sound of Olivia's brush on canvas in the next room, the sense of fullness that came from having the people he loved nearby. "I never thought I could be this happy," Logan admitted one evening. They were sitting on their balcony, Lily asleep in his arms, watching the sun set over the city. "After my sister died, I thought joy was something that happened to other people, that I was just going through the motions until my own time ran out. And now," Olivia asked, resting her head on his shoulder, "now I wake up excited for the day, excited to see what Lily will do, what you're working on, what challenges and opportunities will come up." "You gave me my life back, Olivia. You and Lily, you're everything." "You saved yourself," Olivia corrected gently. "I just helped you remember who you wanted to be." The man who listened when I confronted him at that gala, who actually cared enough to visit the building and meet the residents, who chose to do the right thing even when it wasn't the most profitable option, that man was always there. You just needed a reason to let him out. Logan kissed her forehead. "You're a beautiful person, inside and out. I'm the luckiest man alive." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn from orange to pink to purple. In the distance, they could see the Riverside Apartments, the building where their story had begun, now renovated and thriving. Logan had purchased 2 more older apartment buildings in the neighborhood since then, renovating them with the same care and community focus. The neighborhood was slowly improving, but in a way that benefited existing residents rather than displacing them. "You ever regret it?" Olivia asked. "Choosing this path instead of maximizing profits? You'd be even richer if you had stuck to your original business model." "Never," Logan said firmly. "Money is just money. It doesn't keep you warm at night or make you laugh or give your life meaning. This you, Lily, the work we're doing with the buildings, the foundation, this is what matters. This is success in the only way that counts." As Lily grew, she developed her mother's artistic temperament and her father's determination. At 2 years old, she was drawing on every available surface, requiring careful supervision to prevent mural attempts on expensive walls. Logan complained good-naturedly about finding crayon marks on his business documents, but Olivia noticed he never actually seemed upset about it. He was a devoted father, coming home early to have dinner with his family, taking Lily to the park on weekends, teaching her to be kind and thoughtful and aware of the world around her. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Logan and Olivia returned to the Riverside Apartments courtyard where they had gotten married. The building held another celebration, this time in honor of the anniversary and the completion of Logan's 3rd building renovation in the neighborhood. "You started a movement," Marcus told Logan, gesturing to the crowd of residents old and new. "Other developers are following your model. The neighborhood is improving, but people aren't being forced out. That's because of you." "It's because of all of us," Logan corrected, his arm around Olivia's waist. "We proved that profit and ethics aren't mutually exclusive, that you can do well while doing good." Mrs. Chen presented them with a quilt she had made, covered in patches that told the story of their relationship, the building, the wedding, Lily's birth, all stitched together with love and care. Olivia cried, overwhelmed by the thoughtfulness of the gift. "You family," Mrs. Chen said simply. "This is what family does." That night, after the celebration ended and they had put Lily to bed, Logan and Olivia stood in the nursery watching their daughter sleep, her small chest rising and falling peacefully. "We should have more," Logan said quietly. "Kids, at least one more, maybe 2. Olivia turned to look at him, seeing the hope in his face. "You want more children? I want everything with you. A house full of noise and chaos and love, brothers and sisters for Lily. The big family neither of us had growing up." Logan pulled Olivia close. "What do you think?" "I think yes," Olivia said, smiling. "Let's have more babies. Let's fill this place with life." Their son, James Daniel Webb, was born 2 years later, followed 18 months after that by another daughter, Emma Rose. The penthouse that had once been cold and empty was now overflowing with toys, artwork, laughter, and love. Logan worked from home more often than not, unable to stand being away from his growing family. Olivia painted when she could, in stolen moments between feedings and school pickups and dance recitals, but she had never been happier or more fulfilled. "This is chaos," Logan said one evening, surveying the disaster that was their living room. Toys everywhere, crayon drawings covering the coffee table, evidence of children thoroughly everywhere. "Beautiful chaos," Olivia corrected, settling onto the couch next to him while they had a rare moment of peace with all 3 kids asleep. "The best kind," Logan agreed. He pulled her close, breathing in the familiar scent of her hair, feeling the weight of contentment in his chest. "You know, sometimes I think about that demolition notice, about what my life would be like if you had just accepted it and moved out quietly." "Probably a lot cleaner and quieter," Olivia joked, "and completely empty of everything that matters." Logan turned to face her. "You didn't just change my mind about one building. You changed everything. The way I do business, the way I see the world, the person I am. Before you, I was wealthy but poor in every way that counts. Now I'm rich beyond measure." "So am I," Olivia said softly. "When you walked into my building that day, I was prepared to hate you, to fight you and probably lose and move on with my life. I never imagined you would become my life. That the man threatening my home would give me a real home, the kind built on love and partnership." They kissed, soft and sweet, a reaffirmation of everything they had built together. Through the window, the city lights twinkled like stars, and somewhere across town, the Riverside Apartments stood solid and safe, home to dozens of families whose lives had been changed by one woman's courage and one man's willingness to listen. 10 years after they met, Logan and Olivia stood in the courtyard of the Riverside Apartments again, this time for the 10th anniversary celebration of the building's renovation. Their 3 children ran around with the other building kids, including Sophie Williams, now a teenager who occasionally babysat for them. Mrs. Chen was still cooking, though she moved more slowly now. Mr. Rodriguez had passed 2 years earlier, dying peacefully in the apartment he had refused to leave. A decade, Olivia marveled. It feels like yesterday and a lifetime ago. Best decade of my life, Logan said, and it keeps getting better. He was right. Their life was full and complicated and sometimes messy, but it was real in a way Logan's existence before Olivia had never been. He had more than wealth now. He had love, family, purpose. He had a wife who challenged him and supported him in equal measure. He had children who would grow up knowing they were loved, who would never question their worth the way he had. He had made peace with his past and built a future he was proud of. Olivia had flourished too. Her art was shown in galleries across the country. She had published a book about community-focused art, about how creativity could transform neighborhoods and bring people together. She still took commissions, but only projects she was passionate about, only work that aligned with her values. She had the career she had always dreamed of, but more importantly, she had a life she loved. "You know what I think about sometimes," Olivia said, leaning against Logan as they watched their children play. "I think about how close we came to missing each other. If I had not confronted you at that gala, if you had refused to visit the building, if you had gone ahead with the demolition, how easily we could have just been ships passing, never knowing what we were missing." "But we didn't miss each other," Logan said firmly. "You were too stubborn to let me ignore you, and I was smart enough eventually to listen. We found each other exactly when we needed to." "Fate?" Olivia asked with a smile. "Hard-headed determination," Logan countered. "Yours and mine. You refused to let me demolish your home, and I refused to let you go once I understood what you meant to me. That's not fate. That's choice. The best choices either of us ever made." As the sun set over the courtyard, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that Olivia itched to capture on canvas, Logan pulled his wife close and kissed her thoroughly, not caring who saw. Their children cheered and made exaggerated gagging noises, which made the adults laugh. Mrs. Chen called that dinner was ready. Someone started music playing. The celebration continued around them, life and love and community all tangled together. "I love you," Logan said against Olivia's lips. "Every single day I love you more." "I love you too," Olivia said. "My billionaire with a heart, my partner, my home." Because that was what Logan had become to her and she to him, not a building or a place but a person. Home was where they were together, raising their children, supporting each other's dreams, building something meaningful that would outlast them both. Logan had set out to demolish an apartment building and ended up constructing a life. Olivia had fought to save her home and found herself creating a new one, bigger and fuller than she had imagined possible. Years later, when their children were grown and bringing home partners of their own, when grandchildren started to arrive and fill the spaces their kids had left behind, Logan and Olivia would still tell the story of how they met. About the demolition notice and the confrontation at the gala, about murals and dumplings and renovations that changed more than just a building. Their grandchildren would listen with wide eyes, marveling that their beloved grandparents had once been adversaries, that love could bloom from such unlikely circumstances. "The best things in life are worth fighting for," Olivia would always conclude, looking at Logan with eyes that still held the same fire they had when she marched up to him that first night. "And the best fights are the ones you win together," Logan would add, taking her hand. They had built an empire of love on the foundation of one salvaged building, proving that the most valuable thing anyone could own was not property or wealth, but the human connections that gave life meaning. The riverside apartment stood for decades more, housing generation after generation, a monument to the day a billionaire learned that some things were more important than profit, and a struggling artist discovered that the right person could change everything. Their story became neighborhood legend, then family legacy, passed down with the building itself when Logan and Olivia eventually left it in trust to be maintained as affordable housing in perpetuity. The murals Olivia had painted in her original apartment were carefully preserved, protected behind glass but visible to all who visited. The courtyard where they married held a plaque commemorating their wedding, and couples in the building would sometimes get engaged there, hoping for a love story as enduring as the one that had saved their homes. Logan Webb had entered Olivia Warren's life as a threat, a faceless billionaire wielding power without compassion. He left it decades later having been transformed, made vulnerable and human and whole by the love of a woman who refused to let him forget his own humanity. And Olivia, who had started out just trying to save her home, ended up saving the man she would spend her life with, giving him the family and purpose he had been missing without knowing it. In the end, it was not about the building at all, though the building mattered. It was about two people finding each other across impossible divides, choosing to bridge the gap between their worlds, and discovering that love was the ultimate act of creation, building something lasting from what others might have torn down. It was about second chances and redemption, and the courage to change course when you realized you were headed the wrong way. It was about making every day count, every choice matter, every moment together a gift. It was, quite simply, about love, the kind that changes everything, the kind that lasts forever, the kind that begins with a demolition notice and ends with a life well lived, surrounded by the family you build and the home you create together, one day and one choice at a time.